I guess we're going in again because my mic wasn't turned on. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another edition of Currency Counts, where I cover all things money saving tips. In today's video, I wanted to share with you why it's so important to have a side hustle. Especially in these times, it really opened up a lot of people's eyes as to where you are financially. Gotta make sure it's still recording here. So a lot of us are at the mercy of our employer. They can let us go, fire us at a moment's notice. What do we do then? The money just stops. We're out here trading time for money, right? So it's very important that you have a side hustle, something you can do on the side to generate income. So not only generate extra income, but in some cases, generate an actual living wage. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna throw some numbers out there. Let's say you make $2,000 a month. Your rent is $800. Your light and water is $250. So that's gonna leave you with $950. So from there, let's say you have a car note with insurance, you're looking at around $450 a month. Again, I'm just throwing numbers out there. So food, $100 a week, $400 a month, and that's gonna leave you with $100 a month. So you're supposed to live off of $100 a month when you still haven't even factored in gas. You haven't factored in any entertainment. You haven't factored in any of life's variables throughout the whole month. So if nothing else, a side hustle is gonna provide you, again, with the living wage. Because if you only have $100 a month and not even enough money to cover it, that's when you start going into debt. That's when you start spiraling out of control. You start taking out the credit card. You start taking out payday loans. You start borrowing money. You start being late on rent or late on the water, occurring late fees, and you just go into this snowball, this spiral that you don't want to be in. So having a side income can substitute for pulling out that credit card. That profit you made off that sale or that job you did, you're keeping your credit card down. And in all this money here, I still didn't even include, if you are in debt, all your debt payments. It's hard nowadays because, as we know, it seems like they're paying people less, but everything keeps getting more expensive. So what do? Especially if you're not formally educated, right? You can't just go on to whatever it is, Indeed or one of these job sites, and just say, okay, well, I'm gonna be a bank manager, for example. I'm gonna do this. Well, you need at least a bachelor's degree. You need a lot of formal education. So what you're gonna wanna do is have at least one side hustle. I tell my kids, you need to have at least 3 forms of income. Your first is gonna be your foundation, your main job. Your second is gonna be a solid income, a solid side hustle. Your third is gonna be something that's gonna kind of fluctuate, something that you're kind of playing with a little bit. It can fail. If it does fail, no worries. You're gonna pick up a third side hustle, something else, something that you're just gonna kind of tinker with to see if it's something that catches. Now with the side hustle, you're gonna wanna do something that you're interested in. You're gonna wanna do something that you're passionate about. You don't wanna do something that is gonna be just strictly for the money. That sounds good. Of course, why do we work? Strictly for the money. But that's what you're doing with your 9 to 5, with your 8-10-hour job. You're working strictly for the money. So if you do that with your side hustle, you're gonna get burned out very quickly. And that's gonna be an awful experience for you. And in turn, what that's gonna do that's gonna give you the excuse never to try a side hustle again, because you're gonna use that experience as your excuse not to do it again. Nah, it was too hard. No, the customers were crazy. No, you're just gonna make excuses, right? So make sure you do something. It doesn't have to be something you love. It just can be something that you're interested in, something that motivates you, something that you're excited to do. And it won't feel like work. It's gonna be work. It's gonna be a lot more work than you're actually doing at your 9 to 5, because it's yours and it's all gonna fall on your shoulders. You can't pass it off to somebody else. You can't blame anybody else for the failure. It's all on you. But when you start seeing a positive outcome, when you start seeing some profit from your business, I mean, it's all worth it in the end. Another thing I would say to look into is passive income. Passive income is great because there's potential for a huge upside. That's where you can really make some good money, because you're making money while you're asleep. You're making money while you're doing something else. You're making money while you're with the family, versus a side income, a side hustle, to where you're trading your time for money. One thing that I wouldn't do, that I wouldn't recommend you doing, is doing something where you have to actually be at a physical location. For example, being a handyman, being a landscaper, being something like that, where you have to actually go to a physical location. There's a lot of reasons not to do that. But one of the big ones is, if you're working your 9 to 5, are you gonna come home and be a handyman after hours? Are you gonna be a car detailer after hours or on the weekend? Not only do you not want to do that for that reason, but also because you're limited to your location, your geographical location, your neighborhood, your town, your city. You're really not going to go farther out than that. You can't really branch out that much, versus doing something online to where the world is your customer. On top of that, you can do something like drop shipping, to where all you're doing is really promoting the product, setting up a website. You're not packing anything. You're not dealing with customers directly. All that stuff kind of happens in the back end, and you're just really collecting a check. So that's something that I would say to try to look into, versus doing one of these other side jobs. I see a lot of people doing landscaping. I see a lot of people doing auto repair that are not a licensed mechanic. I see a lot of people doing handyman. You got to think bigger, because, okay, you can make some good money doing that, but that really is going to be like a weekend thing, because again, you really don't want to be at somebody's house, and people are not going to want you to be at their house after hours, especially after you work the 8-10 hour shift. You come home, you're going to go out and work another 4 hours. And let me tell you, once you work those 4 hours, let's say you get paid $20 an hour. You charge them $20 an hour, 20, 40, 60, 80. 4 hours. You come home, man, I got $80. I made $80 off that job. Now what? It's over. You got to go look for another job. Versus taking those 4 hours, not making anything off the top, making zero money. But those 4 hours, you made a website. You studied the dropship game. You learned Amazon FBA. which is another thing. Amazon FBA is fulfilled by Amazon, which you can go to one of these sites like AliExpress. You buy wholesale overseas. They'll private label them for you. You get them. What you can do is ship them to Amazon FBA, and now it's in their fulfillment center. They can sell it as Prime, and you don't have to do anything. All you do is make your listing on Amazon. You have to market it, because I mean the market is very competitive, but you have to market it. And again, you just collect a check. You're not shipping anything out to anybody. Amazon's doing that. Or you get with a drop shipper, and a drop shipper is going to do that. So back to what I was saying, you spend that 4 hours that you make that $80, and you learn the game, or you set up. You're not going to learn the whole game in 4 hours, but understand what I'm telling you. You study, or you set up your website, and those 4 hours is going to potentially make you $80 a day going forward. Just depends on how much time you put into it, how much effort you put in to whatever you're doing. Because once you set it up, you can be at work and you're making sales and you're making sales and you're not doing anything. Those sales are just coming in because you put the work up front. You thought outside the box. You're not thinking, well, if I do this work, I'm going to get paid for it right off the bat, because you're thinking like a worker. You have to think differently. If you really want to break out financially, you have to think differently. You have to do the work up front, knowing that it's not going to come out. You're not going to make it. You might not see that money for 2, 3, 4, 6, a year, 6 months, a year. But when it does come in, man, that money starts coming in, it feels great, because you put all the money up front. You put all the time up front. And now you're gonna make that money on the back end for years to come. So a real quick story about myself. I had a regular job, 9 to 5, steady job for 10 years. After 10 years, I got laid off. But about a year and a half before that happened, I started a side hustle. I started screen printing, making custom t-shirts. So when it came around that I got laid off, I didn't skip a beat. I jumped from what I was doing at my main job, and I went in full time into screen printing. If I didn't have that, and I just didn't have a job, I'd probably take the first job that came into my lap or that I was hired for, no matter how wrong it was for me. A year after I started full time, I opened up my first shop. So I ran that for, I want to say, about 8 more years, until about 2 years ago. I was not big enough to hire more people, but I wasn't small enough to where I could handle it with the employees that I had. So I was right in the middle. I was right at that breaking point, and I did break. So I went back to screen printing from home. So I said, well, I don't think this is gonna actually pay the bills, just me screen printing. So from there, I started selling parody shirts online. And then I started different forms of passive income, YouTube being one of them. And then I also started Amazon affiliate, which is another form of passive income. So then at the start of this year, I said to myself, I'm not sure how much longer I want to screen print. So what I'm gonna do is go and get my real estate license. So now I have my real estate license, and that's gonna be my base, my foundation, my main source of income. And I'm slowly gonna stop screen printing. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because it's easy for somebody to tell you, you should start a side hustle. It's easy to start a side hustle, right? If you've never been there, but I've been there. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've been in a situation where I've almost lost everything, and I had to pull myself out of that. And just know that if you really want to get out of the situation you're in, you can do it. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but you can do it. So that's why I decided to make this channel. Even if it's just to help one person, it would all be worth it. Because again, I've been there. I know what I'm talking about. If I don't know something about a certain topic, I won't even cover it. Because I don't want to talk at you. I'm not going to tell you something you should do that I haven't done, or something I wouldn't do myself. So just know that I've been there. And if you're there right now, you can definitely pull yourself out of it. It's just going to take a lot of hard work. So I guess I went on a little rant there, but I'm real passionate about side hustling. I'm real passionate about people getting their financial self in order. It's real easy just to go through life and just say, well, I couldn't do it. Well, it's not going to happen. But you can make it happen. But you have to make it happen. Nobody's going to make it happen for you. No excuses. Get out there and do it. So I hope you like this video. Please consider subscribing. Let me know what kind of side hustle you're starting or thinking about starting. I'd like to hear from you. Check you on the next one.